Welcome to the Determined People Podcast. Thank you for being here. We are dedicated to spreading encouragement, strength, and hope to a world that's in desperate need of it. Before we get started, I have a favor to ask. Would you hit the subscribe button? It helps our following grow, and tell your friends about us. These stories that we put out here are for you. We're designed to give you what you need when you need it. And maybe you know a friend who's struggling and they need to hear today's message or one of the other ones from the past. So let's get into it. Dr. Robb Kelly is the founder of the Robb Kelly Recovery Group. It's dedicated to helping people who are ready to begin the recovery from addiction. Let me say that again. People who are ready to begin the recovery from addiction. He's the author of Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. Dr. Kelly is a highly sought-after speaker and coach in all things addiction. I'm honored he and his wife Janet drove in from out of town to be with us today. And let me just add, as you will hear in just a minute, Robb is a walking miracle. So thank you for being here, Robb.
Thank you for having me, John.
I greatly appreciate it. This is great. So before we get into the incredible twists and turns of your life, I want to read this because it came right off your website. And I love this. It says, quote, "You cannot just buy our services. You have to earn them. We refuse to take money off anyone who isn't ready." I mean, that's a great idea. It sort of goes back to the original AA founders, Dr. Bob and Bill W., who would go to the sanitarium and visit patients and ask, "Are you ready to stop drinking?" If they said no, they'd go to the next patient. Is that where that came from?
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, I struggled. I went to a few treatment centers. I see people go to treatment centers all the time. I see them go there 3 or 4 times and pay $30,000 a time. You know, and we come up with this. It's like, if you're not ready, we're not going to take you. So going back a few years, I was the guy, if anybody remembers, that turned down Britney Spears for $1 million. And we're going back 10, 12, 15 years, I don't know how long. But I wouldn't take her. And 2 days later, she shaved her head in the newspaper. And, you know, it's like, if they're not ready, we're not going to touch you. We're not there to take your money. That's not what we're going to do.
That's great. That's purity of your purpose is what it is.
Definitely.
I love that. So let's start off with a premise. Families and friends of alcoholics seem to think that if the alcoholic just stops drinking, everything will be fine. What do you say to that?
Oh, wow, yes. Alcohol has got 1% to do with alcoholism. And drugs, 1% to do with drug addiction. So having said that statement, I have to go back and describe that statement and what it's about. And, you know, alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. So alcoholics have the predisposition. You can trace it back through your family. Alcoholics are allergic to the ethanol and the alcohol. So now we're talking about a biochemical reaction when I take alcohol in body. And what happens to me is I become allergic to that. But the mental obsession first is where it all starts. So when I first take my first drink, from then on, there's a countdown to when I'm going to absolutely destruct and either die or get help. So that's how it happens. 95% of people that come to see us with a heroin problem started in the doctor's office. That says it all.
Oh, that does say it all. So the allergy to alcohol. Now, let's back up here for just 1 second. First of all, we stigmatize alcoholics. Why is that? It is a disease. But you're talking about disease that is, starts up here and then manifests in the destructive behavior brought on by the inability to stop drinking alcohol. But why do we stigmatize alcoholics?
If you go back to the 30s and 40s, mental illness in the family used to get locked away. So people like me used to be locked in sanitariums, never to come out again. Any mental illness in the family was thrown away and discarded. So that's what happened. When that stopped happening, the stigma continued. Because when we see alcoholics, we don't see like me. You know, they don't see successful people. They see the guy. I know what an alcoholic is. It's that guy on the corner over there with the big waistcoat and a string and around the fire drinking meth. It's like, no, an alcoholic is one of the best brains in the world, the alcoholic mind, because the neural pathways can turn into self-care, powerful pathways rather than self-sabotage. So that's what we see. We see the down of the alcoholic. If you ever see a movie star or somebody off TV, if you ever see them drunk anywhere or they're going through a drinking period, they'll get photographs of them wasted, lying down the road, out making a fool of themselves. You never see the transformation. And everybody can transform for the chronic alcoholic over to a successful father, son, worker, whatever it is. We can be successful, but we just want to concentrate. Like if I was to hold this paper up, this side here real quick, and you can't really, all you can see, no writing, and I was to do that, guys, what do you see? You see the black spot in the middle. We don't see the white bit around it, and that's what the human brain is like. Let's look at the default. Let's look at where you went wrong. Most people do that and they don't look at exactly what's going on. Ask loads of people, what's an alcoholic? Somebody who drinks so much alcohol. That is not the truth. I know people who drank more alcohol than me. They're fine today. It's not the quantity, it's not the time, it's not the place. It's what happens when alcohol gets into my body. The biochemical reaction with the ethanol in alcohol makes me allergic, and we go on from there. So my biggest thing when I came to America 15, 16 years ago was to educate the public and go, hey, we really need to understand an alcoholic or a drug addict. And we really need to understand trauma, because trauma is the gateway drug.
You know, you talk about how we picture the alcoholic as the guy sitting outside the liquor store, you know, sipping the bag.
Yes.
I mean, you're an educated guy. You have a PhD from Oxford. That is as prestigious as you can get. Anybody who has a modicum of education knows the dignity that Oxford has. Yet it happened to you. You were homeless, which we're going to get into that. You know, you wrote in your book, and I think this is brilliant, that alcoholism is a thinking problem. But the irony is, Robb, you wrote it describing when you discovered that you were in the throes of your addiction, but you didn't change your thinking.
Yes.
Tell that story.
The bottle and the yeah. So I'm outside a liquor store. It's a newsagent's in England, but you're allowed to say liquor and beer. Not until 10 a.m. though. It was 5:30. I'm stood outside. I'm in a pair of shorts. I have a small little vest on. I have flip-flops on. It's snowing, and I'm sweating and shaking, and I'm so hot. I know that I'm going to go into DTs, delirium tremors. I know I'm going to die or get alcohol. One of the two needs to happen. The guy opens the door. I'm shaking really badly, and I can't speak properly, and my mind's banging, and mustard is 10 pounds, and I put it on the counter, and he put the bottle on. He goes, "There you go, Rob." And this was my reaction. My headache went, my shaking went, my sweating stopped, my clear thinking, my happiness, everything turned around within seconds. And it was, John, it was like slow motion, because I had the held of this bottle, and I looked at the shopkeeper. I looked back at the bottle, back at the shopkeeper, back at the bottle, and I went, oh my goodness, it's not the alcohol. It's not the alcohol. Because the top was still on, the seal was still there.
Yeah.
And that was my big aha moment from taking what people thought of alcoholics to what's actually going on. So it's not a drinking problem, it's a thinking problem. When I had the product in my hand, my whole being was good again.
It was that neurochemical reaction in your brain when it knew it was about to be sated with alcohol, but it stopped the DTs. I've seen people with DTs. It's ugly.
People,
It is ugly.
If you're struggling with alcoholism, or you want to get into work with alcoholics, you really need to go to an ER or hospital and watch somebody with the DTs. It's the worst thing that I've ever suffered. And to watch somebody, you just feel hopeless. Nothing you can do.
Withdrawal from alcohol is the only thing that can really cause you to have a stroke. It can kill you. I mean, heroin, it's ugly, but it won't kill you. Not like alcohol.
I don't think any coming off any drug immediately can't kill you. I'm going to have to double check on that, because there's new drugs around. But, back in my day, there's no drug that could kill you, but alcohol could.
So let's start off with the arc of your life story. And strap in, everybody, because this is a wild ride. You took your first drink at 9 years old.
Yes.
Why?
I was on stage in Liverpool. Liverpool Irish Centre was a big place. Liverpool, where the Beatles come from, guys. So I was on stage. We played the first set. I was so nervous. There was too many people. I started to freak out during the rest period from first and second set. And my uncle said, hey, drink that. And he gave me this liquid, gold liquid. And I drank it down in one, and my nerves went. And from that day, I remember saying to myself, this is the solution to all my problems. Wow. So that's why I took the drink. And from then on, every Friday and Saturday, I took that little beer to give me confidence. And it got me through school. It got me through college. Being confident, being great with the girls, being funny, playing music. And then obviously, we'll get into later what it turned on me.
Yeah. Yes, it does. It's a vicious mistress, right? So, but you got into, as you grew, your music ability got better. You actually were a session musician at Abbey Road. You shared with me something interesting about that. Tell us about going to be a musician at Abbey Road. Well, that's like the top of the line.
The thing is with the alcoholic brain, and this is what I'm always telling people, guys, it's the smartest brain in the world. We're either all in or we're all out. When there's no medium setting for me. It's like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to be the best in the world at it. And if I can't be, I'm not playing. I've never played basketball. Hey, Rob, you coming out this week, play basketball? No. Why? Never played. Yeah, but it's come out. No. I'm not going to be good at it, so I'm not going to play. So before Abbey Road was Strawberry Studios, I seen an advertisement, I think, or somebody said, hey, you need to go into the studio. I used to play Friday and Saturday and Sunday night with bands. So I went for this audition with Strawberry Studios outside Manchester, a place called Stockport, owned by 10cc. I'm not in love. Them guys. So I auditioned and got the job. They paid me a fortune for 2 hours work. Like, they paid me like a month's worth of gigging on the road, like traveling, and for 2 hours work. And I'm like, hang on a second. Do I really want to go gigging, or do I want to do this? So I got into that more. Then saw, I think it was Melody Maker, I'm not sure, a little ad for a bass player, a session bass player. Now, what happens with session bass players, a lot of people don't know this. In the music industry, when Sony or somebody signs a band, you don't get any money for the first year. You know, you're just going from gig to gig, top of the pops, doing this. Everything's laid on for you. Everything's paid. Limousines, everything's paid. It's coming off your money, but it's all covered. And a year after the first album has really made a success, you've signed to a 3-album deal over 3 or 4 years, you get your first paycheck. Now, most bands are not rich when they start, you know, so $250,000, $500,000 is like winning a lottery 10 times over. So in a certain case, but my first gig there is the band got all the money, the bass player went out and he was gone. He was on heroin, he was all sorts of stuff, and he couldn't make it to the studio. That's when they call people like me in and go, hey, can you do a session tomorrow? You go down. You don't know the song. It's a smart part a lot of people don't know as well. You don't know the song you're playing. You get sheet music in front of you and they count you in. You ready? You got and you play the bass track, and you got to play it in one piece because time is money. Now, when you finish the bass track, I do 5 or 6 for them, they'd say, okay, here's the deal. You can have a mention on the album, but out of the 17 tracks that we made, only 9's going to make it to the album, or you can get paid $250 or £250 now with no mention. So everyone takes the big money because it might not make it to the album. So that's what happens. You take the money, and I was earning a fortune just from doing that. It was just crazy at my age. Absolutely. But that's where my alcohol and drug addiction took off.
But you had to be really, really good because, I mean, to walk in, not know the song. Yeah.
Again, you know, I'm either very, very good at something or I'm not. And it's like when I met my wife, Janet, she's like, are you sure you've done all this stuff? Because when I met Janet, I was out the industry and I was driving a car for a pest control company, earning about $600 a week. I was done with the industry. So when I got back into it by luck, she started seeing me doing all this stuff. It's like, them stories were right. They were true. You've done amazing things. It's like, I'm all in or I'm all out. You know, that's what it is. And God looks after me so well. He just places me in situations all the time.
Has he ever? I'm sure driving a truck for a pest control company, you're one of Oxford's most prized graduates at that point.
The funny thing is, I say truck because I'm trying to ease back. It was actually a yellow Beetle VW with big ears on top. It had whiskers on the front of the car and a big steel tail out the back. That's what God took me down to this and go, okay, this is what we're going to do for the next year. So when I actually met Janet, my wife, that's what I was doing. And I wouldn't take the car on there. So every Friday night, I'd go to the local car rental, I'd rent a car, leave the mouse car, it's called the mouse car, drive to her house. After about 3 times I'd go, and she kept saying, well, what's it with all different cars? Because I'd turn up in a different car every week. And I had to tell her that I drove this mouse car, but it was very humbling.
God will humble you when you need to be, and He certainly has a great plan for your life as we'll get further into it. So let's start off. You start off the book, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking, with a bang on the door from the police. And you're coming out of a blackout. Your 2 infant daughters how old were they at that time?
1 and 3.
1 and 3. And they hadn't been fed for 2 days.
Correct.
What is a blackout like?
Blackout is when you don't remember what happened. So the brain gets a certain amount of alcohol and it goes like dormant part of the brain. The memory is suppressed. Now, the memory's always there. If you go into therapy, you can bring everything out you've done. So the myth is that alcohol kills brain cells. That's a myth. It doesn't. It darkens and grays some of them, so they're not as good as usual. So when you go into a blackout, or I do, I have no recollection for days or weeks when I'm drinking of where I've been and what I've done. So to be woke up. I remember the day before, or probably 2 days before that, when I got my children, because my wife left after, the incident with the knife. And then I got my children back, and I went to have one drink to celebrate. That was it. John, that was it. I had my children. That was it. I was never going to drink anymore. And 2 days later, there I was, with vodka bottles strewn all over the floor. The kids are crying, not being changed, not being fed. I nearly killed them kids. It was just, to wake up to that, the absolute horror of them forced horsemen they talk about, forced horsemen, was just, I just wanted to die. I wanted to die.
The police handed you something, and it said the words, Unfit Father. Today, May of 2022, what goes through your mind, what goes through your heart when you hear those words, Unfit Father?
Well, I carried... I carried that title for a long time of Unfit Father, because I was unfit father. I couldn't look after my kids. I couldn't provide for them. So it took a lot of work for me to get over that, because it when you have a child, you promise that you'll look after it, care, you'll protect it from anything, and as you get older, it's just an amazing trip together. I didn't do that. I abandoned those children. And some of the things that are not in the book, some of the stuff I used to do, like leave them at supermarkets while I nipped into the bar and stuff like that. So Unfit Father is still something that hurts, Nobody's ever asked me that question in all the years I've been doing this, but whenever you just said that, my heart sunk. And the realization that I can't run from that. I have to own that, and own it good. That's what goes through. It still hurts.
What happened after the police took your children away that day?
I remember him picking them up in the living room, and they walked out, and I followed them. Mum was there, her mum was there, Child Protective Service were there, police were there, and the mother-in-law grabbed the youngest one, Abigail, and Mum grabbed Charlie by the hand, Charlotte, and we started to walk down the path. And Charlotte turned around and said, she said three things to me. She says, Daddy, please don't go. So after everything they've been through, they're still resilient. They still want Daddy, which blew my mind years later. And then halfway down the path, she turned around and said, Daddy, please get better. And as she got to the gate, they opened the gate, and she turned around one more time and she looked at me and says, Daddy, please stop drinking. That's what gets me today. Yeah. The sickness, the illness, the shame of my daughter, age 3, saying that to me, Daddy, please stop drinking. And I couldn't do it. You'd have thought through everything, when your child says, Daddy, please come home, don't do it anymore, you'd think that I had enough power inside me to stop and say, no, this is enough. And this is where the crossover from the heavy drinking to alcoholism, when we cross over to alcoholism, the choice is taken off us. And that comes down to neuroscience, which we'll get into later.
Sure. I hope our audience understands that, because you're not a bad guy, but the disease is that powerful. You cannot control it. Even the love that any parent has for their children, which is indescribable, it supersedes that. It takes over. Anybody can. I don't think people understand that part of that is the disease in you. It's not Robb Kelly.
No.
That is the disease. And that is the distinction. It was explained to me one time by an addict. He said, think of like this table, and there's a little square here. And he goes, I'm in recovery, and the rest of this tabletop is me, but the little square is always there. That is the disease. If I get out of recovery, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's always there. And it's that powerful. That powerful.
We went into more research about that, because I wasn't happy with it is just a disease. That's the way it is. I want to know why. Why me and millions of people couldn't control this. So when we did our studies, we found out that the hypothalamus, which is our fight or flight part of the brain, it tells young kids to eat food. We never have to teach a baby how to eat or drink. It's got his hand down its mouth, it cries. So it's a natural knee-jerk reaction from the brain, a survival instinct. At a certain type, the hypothalamus is deformed away from the normal hypothalamus. So what happens over a period of time is when you cross from, if you have the gene, hereditary gene, you cross from heavy drinking to alcoholic. The brain tells the alcoholic to drink alcohol, It doesn't say, hey, you must drink water and food to survive. That's why I could go on other alcohols, go days and weeks, even months without drinking water and eating food, because my brain is telling me drink alcohol. So my brain is telling me to drink alcohol. I have to drink alcohol. You know, it's like saying in a desert, you know, oh, John, don't drink that water. I'm going to die. Same thing with me. I'm going to die if I don't take alcohol. And everything takes over. Everything. You know, I'm begging of my wife with baby in her hand, big black eye from the night before. Please, Rob, please, Rob, for the sake of me and the kids, please don't go drink. I had to go drink. Yeah. And that's the part people don't understand. They think it's a choice. It's not a choice.
You mentioned this earlier, it's in the book. You stabbed your wife.
I did. 3 times.
Over half a glass of vodka?
It was half a bottle, but I was upstairs in the middle of the night. I'd been drinking for 6-7 months nonstop, and I came down. I woke up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and I needed to drink, man. I was just needed that drink. So I was creeping downstairs, and any alcoholic will tell you, I went into the kitchen looking for this bottle that I hid, because we're very good at hiding stuff. Even guys that live on themselves will hide bottles around the house because of the shame. Imagine how deep that goes. Yeah, so I find this bottle, and he was like, oh, it's like the Holy Grail. I opened it. It was like half a bottle of vodka. I put it on the side. I turn around. This is my mental state of the alcoholic. I turn around to get a crystal glass because I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not drinking out of the bottle. So I turn around to get this very expensive crystal glass. I turned around, and my wife had snatched a bottle, and she held it like this. And she said, I think you've had enough. Now, bearing in mind what I'd gone through and what I've done and how much I drank, and I had a board meeting in 4 hours, I should have said, thank you, Mrs. Kelly, and gone to bed. What I did is took a kitchen knife out and stabbed her 3 times and took the bottle and finished the bottle. I called the police, the ambulance, and the taxi rank was just around the corner. The taxi come first. I jumped in the taxi and I fled to Spain. Yeah.
For a month? Is that right?
Probably about 3 months. Yeah, 2 or 3 months I was there until he dropped charges.
Wow. These are crazy stories, but it's part of your story. You have to own it. But, and you do. Let me ask you another question. I want to move on to your time on the streets and how you finally got sober. But have you forgiven yourself for the way that you treated your wife and your children?
Yes. I didn't do that until about 6 years ago when I suffered badly from PTSD, from the drinking and the homelessness and stuff like that. Badly. I didn't know about that. 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, we didn't know about trauma, how bad it was affected us. We just think trauma is a plane crash, loss of a parent. Oh my God, with the alcoholic brain, it goes much deeper than that. So I have, but there are certain buzzwords, as you've just told, you just said it right there. How did you feel when this happened? That still hits, but now I'm over it. I can carry on because I think I've forgiven myself. And I think we can move on. And my eldest daughter, as she knows, back in my life. My youngest son will never be. I have to own that stuff. And I think I do pretty good today. But it still upsets me. I talk about the children going towards the gate, Daddy, please stop drinking, tears in my eyes. And that great question you just asked, tears in my eyes. So it really touches. But yeah, I think I have.
And I have this here. So your oldest daughter, Charlotte, and you reconciled. She was an adult then, though.
Yes.
How did that happen?
We got a text message or a message in the middle of that. This is how I recollect it, but my memory's not brilliant. We got a text message or a message from Facebook contacting me, and it said something like, hey, Dad. And it's the first time I've seen Dad for so many years. And I think me and my wife called the next day, and we talked to her on the phone, and then we flew over there, and then we stayed in a hotel around the corner, and the nerves was mind-blowing in that hotel, knowing quite well I got an hour before I got to go to the house, got an hour to go to the house. Now, God had this, okay, because I don't think I would have made it to the house. I was so scared, I was so shameless, I was so, I was just this cloud hanging over me saying, you are a piece of crap, and my wife was doing her best to get me ready. But as we opened the hotel door to start our walk round, which is literally about 300 yards, she was there. And I didn't have any chance to react. So we hugged and everything, and we cried, and, she hugged my wife, Gianna, and then she took us back to the house, and then she introduced us to our 3-month-old granddaughter. Oh. And right there, John, right there, all the work I've done with people, everything I've achieved, if I'd have died right there, I'd have been a happy man. And I say that tongue-in-cheek a little bit, but you have to understand that all my dreams were filled right there and then. Sure. Little did I know that God was going to 1,000-fold that after that incident for the last 6 years, 4 to 6 years ago.
Did she share with you how she got to the point where she wanted to reconnect with you?
I think it's because she was brainwashed by her mother, and rightly so. I've got to put this out there, rightly so. People always say, do you hate your wife for taking your kids with you? And the true answer is no. She saved their lives, obviously, and she did the best thing when I was raging. So we'd not been through it in depth. I don't think we're there yet. It's more of the reconnection, and stuff like that. But I just think that she didn't believe everything that was said. She wants to see me online somewhere or TV. And I think she wanted to make that connection. But the crazy thing, John, is I always knew she would. Not so much my youngest daughter, but I always knew that Charlie would someday. And me and my wife would talk about it, and she kept saying, someday, someday. And it happened when I was ready. Because I don't think I could have done it a month before, and I don't think I could have done it a month after. But it's like the timing, once again, by God, was impeccable. And he gave me this gift. I remember looking at my granddaughter and thinking, this is just incredible. Can life get any better than this? And it has. And it keeps getting better every single day.
He does have some incredible timing.
Yes.
I don't always like it.
No.
Don't always agree with it, but I don't get that choice. I just have to trust it, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier you don't believe that Abigail will ever come around. Why is that?
I don't. My wife says yes. I just think there's too much damage. I think she's been told a lot of stuff that was true. She doesn't understand alcoholism, and she doesn't understand how people can change, and it wasn't a choice. And it's, I wasn't a bad man trying to be good. I was a sick man trying to get well. That was the difference. And everywhere I went, they would take money off me, and nothing would happen. They'd keep me somewhere for 30 days, and I would drink on the way home. Why wouldn't I? Nobody changed in your pathways, thought patterns, central nervous system. They just kept me there. We read books, we had AA meetings, and then when I released, so she's got all that, even though she was so young. And of course, growing up without me, that's probably, I heard Charlie say to somebody while I was there that Abigail says she doesn't have a dad. And just like that.
How does that hit you?
Horrible. Yeah. And again, people may see all the stuff I've done because I'm all in or all out. They might see everything I've achieved since I've been over it. See the things I've achieved since I met Janet. She thinks it's crazy what we're doing and how we do it and how we've ended up here. But that's me. That's what I do. But hurt. Is it going to affect her? I know it does. They both have treatment and counsellors and therapists. So I know it affects them. And just, I don't know. I just think there's too much damage done, but it's not my decision. It's his decision. And when he thinks he's ready, it'll be interesting. She did get in touch with me about a year ago, but it was an email and it says Robb on it. No, Dad, Robb. And she was demanding $5,000 a month. And then my ex-wife jumped aboard. She wanted $100,000 for messing, drinking during her life and messing it up. So with them two threat emails, we couldn't really return emails on that basis.
Sure.
So I said one back, said, if it's not about the money, let's connect, let's meet. Didn't get any reply.
Yeah. Don't give up hope.
Yeah.
I'm on the side of Janet. I certainly hope and pray it will happen because everybody needs redemption and restoration. And it's going to be hell for her if she doesn't do that. She'll always have that wondering. So I just hope that she does. Her heart does change. And only God can change a person's heart anyway. So that's who you've got to leave it in his hands and let him do his work.
I'm not too sure whether this is in the book, John, but as of about 10 months ago, or something like when I met Charlie again, she wanted to go back to school, so we sent her back to school for neural legacy programming. And about 9 months ago, she took the place in our Manchester office as my lead therapist.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not in the book.
It's not in the book was done about 3 years ago. But yeah, she's now our lead therapist. When people get on and they go, we say to patients, you're going to see Charlotte or Charlie, and they get on and we never really tell them. And then she, it's my dad. She always calls me Dr. Robb as well, but it's my dad, and they freak out. It's like this story is just so powerful for parents and kids, that it's always going to be okay. At the end of the day, it's always going to be okay. And if you're an alcoholic going through this, guys, there are going to be words, there are going to be occasions where you feel that twinge, you feel that hurt. But, this is God's plan. It's not my plan. And I will keep hope.
Yes. Yeah. But you got to feel it because otherwise you're going to numb it out with something, something artificial. But when you wake up, it's still there, whatever it is. Let's talk about when you were on the streets, you were homeless. As I recall, this is in the book, had no shoes because in a blackout somebody stole your shoes. It's a pouring London cold rain. I mean, I felt it when I was reading it as you wrote it. And you hit your knees, but you're pretty much an atheist at this point.
Yes.
But you hit your knees, and what did you say and what happened?
I'm walking the back end of Manchester, man. It's like where the factories are, where the businesses are. It's Sunday night, Monday morning, 2 or 3. It's pouring down with rain. I just dropped down to my hands and knees and I started to cry like a baby. For those guys that really cried, I mean, you know, you can feel it in your stomach. You can feel it aching in your stomach. And this was like in slow motion. I remember the rain hitting the back of my head, it coming round here, it mixing with my tears, and it hit the cobblestones and turned into like a purpley blue colour. And I was looking at it and I was sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. Now, you have to realise I wasn't sobbing because I'd lost money, kids, wives, cars, holiday homes. I wasn't crying because of that. At that particular point in time, I was sobbing because I realised I couldn't stop drinking, because it really hit me right there and then. I looked up to the sky as an atheist, and this is what I said. If there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. 30 seconds later, thereabouts, a guy walked around the corner, and I'm thinking, where's he come from? It was 2 o'clock in the morning, for goodness sake. And he's got a little Bible in his hand, and he's coming towards me, and I'm on my hands and knees, and he said, "You need help?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm dying. I'm dying, I need help." Turns out he was at a Bible study. He'd missed the last bus home, and he'd walked about 20 miles home. That's why it was 2 o'clock in the morning. Come across me because it was a shortcut to his house, and took me back, and that's why I'm here today. That's one of the reasons I'm here today.
As I recall, he was an alcoholic.
Yes, he was an alcoholic, a Christian. He's in recovery. He'd gone through the system, and he had the house. He was renting this nice house. He had a full-time job, which was amazing. So, yeah, it's like winning the lottery.
But there was a caveat to him taking you home. What was it?
You can stay as long as you want, Rob, but you've got to come to these AA meetings with me. Oh, not again. I hated the meetings. But I went because it was a dry bed for the night.
Yeah, and a meal.
A meal, yeah, and dry clothes and shave. My face was all fresh, a bit down here. And so I agreed to go. And during that meeting, something crazy happened. Because they're all sat in a circle and they're all moaning about, life's horrible. This is how much you used to drink. And halfway around, this guy said, "My name's John and I'm a recovered alcoholic."
Before you talk about John, I want our audience to know, because this is in the book, you even had a plan to manipulate there. You went to the meeting and went to the bathroom. You were going to sneak out the window, go buy a bottle of vodka, and then drink it, come back and sit next to Derek is his name, in the meeting, like he couldn't smell the vodka on you.
Right.
But that
was the master plan, though.
That's the mind of an alcoholic.
And while he was driving, I said, "Where is it?" He said, "It's just over there." I'm looking around and I see this liquor store and I'm like, "Oh, brilliant." But the laughable thing about that is when I went to the bathroom, the window's only this big. So I'm supposed to climb through this window this big, go and steal some vodka, drink it as fast as I can, get back through a window this big and sit down as nothing has happened.
Great plan.
It didn't work. It was a great plan. It just didn't work.
So then, let's talk about John.
So I heard him say that, and I walked over to him at the end of the meeting. Now, I don't ask for help off anybody.
He said, "I'm a recovered alcoholic."
He said, "I'm a recovered alcoholic." He mentioned Jesus being in the book. He mentioned that recovered means to gain one's health and state of mind back, and I thought it meant cured. So I crossed that room. I don't know how big it was. It was a small room, like an office room, and I crossed it. It was like crossing the Sahara Desert to ask this guy to help me. And nobody else was speaking to him, which I was blown away. It's like he was saying some amazing things, pointing in this book, and it's blowing my mind. And I said, "Would you sponsor me?" And he said, "No." And before he could say anything else, John, everything just dropped back to that useless. Nobody wants you. And just before I got hold of that and ran with that, he said, "But I will be a spiritual advisor for a period of 12 weeks. Which I thought was insane. He's like, what does that even mean? But he said, "Can I get you a big book and a dictionary?" And it's the funny part again. I said, "John, no disrespect, but I've been to Oxford. I don't need a dictionary." And he looked down at me. He said, "Bring a dictionary." Okay, so guys, I'm sorry. I stole a dictionary because I couldn't afford one. And I did the walk round there on the Wednesday. Every Wednesday night I walked round there. Every Wednesday. I'd set off at 6. It was an hour walk. I got there for 7. I'd stay until 8 on the dot. It was really important that I left on the dot. 8 o'clock. I never thought about that. Yeah, it was really important that I get there at 7, not 10 till, not 5 till. at 7, and then 8 o'clock, he'd usher me through the door and I was gone. So I'd walk an hour back. So every Wednesday for 12 weeks, it was 3 hours of my life taken on Wednesday. And I was just so grateful because he was teaching me philosophy, human brain, the being, the God, the spirit, all this stuff. And he always said to me, alcohol's not your problem, Rob. And I went, well, it is. It kind of it. It's not your problem, Roy. He kept saying that to me. So after the 12 weeks, we finished the final steps. We did 1 to 5 steps on the first day because that's what the book says, 1 to 5, and after that go home. So I did come back on the Sunday and I finished it off. When I walked out that man's house, I knew that something had changed. And I walked back at 8 o'clock at night with a different walk, a different attitude, and my head was held high. And I started to be proud of what I've done and feel comfortable in my own skin. And that's where life changed. Because he said to me a couple of things. He said, first of all, you've been chosen by God to do this. Stop it, will you? Come on, I'm on the streets. I can't be chosen for nothing. I ain't got nothing. And he said, Rob, tomorrow... he said, very soon you're going to be offered a job. I said, again, John, no disrespect. I'm in this guy's basement. I've got a blow-up mattress or a mattress on the floor. Nobody knows I'm there. You're going to get a job. Life's going to get better next week. He said, just be ready for the ride. And I said, okay. The next day, John, Derek come back from home. He said, hey, there's a job going, sweeping up around the factory. Do you want it? I'm like, hey, yes. Oh, I didn't even think about John then. I was like, yeah, that's awesome, Derek. Thank you so much. So I went there and I did a good job. I'm either all in or all right. So I'm sweeping the floor like the best sweeper they've ever had. So after a couple of days, they said, hey, do you want a full-time job doing this? And I'm like, hell yes. And then a couple of weeks after, I got all the guys. I'm kind of a comedian when I'm mixing with them kind of guys. It's just it's where I belong. And one says, listen, Rob, I've got a car. It's like my third car. It's a Mini. It's only got 6 months tax, so I could only drive for 6 months. It's not brilliant, but you can have it. Get to work and back, because Derek was on a different shift. So I was just on 9 to 5 sweeping. And when I got it, I thought of John. And I'm like, my life is amazing within a couple of weeks. It's like my whole life's changed right now. So the first paycheck I got, I bought him a little teddy bear, probably 3 inches tall, and a card. And I wrote on the card, thank you, John, for introducing me to God. He took the compulsion to drink away. And I walked back to John's apartment. And when I got there, it seemed a little bit darker than usual. I knocked on the door, and I was knocking quite a few bit because, why isn't he answering? And a lady from the right-hand side opened the door and he says, can I help you? And I said, can you tell me where John's moved to? There's nobody here. Oh, you've got the wrong apartment. There's nobody in that apartment for 3 months that I've been here. I said, okay. Closed the door. I thought, okay. Knocked on the left-hand side door, and I knocked a bit harder than I should because now I'm a little bit worried. Like, am I in the right place? And the guy comes to the door, and he said, yes. And I said, where's John gone to? Where's he moved to? He's like, John? I said, yeah, next door, John. He went, you got the wrong apartment. I said, no, you got the wrong apartment. It's been derelict for 12 months. You're not allowed in there. You'll fall through the floor. You can't go in there. You just forget about it. So I'm confused, but I know I have the right address. So I go back to the meeting that I'd been 12 weeks before that I met him, or 14 weeks before. And the same chairman was in there, and I walked up to him and a few guys hanging around. I said, hey, has John ever been back here? He said, John? I'm like, I'm sick of hearing this John with a question mark. I said, yeah, it was meeting, recovered, over near the coffee machine, talking to him. Blah. And they all looked at me. In fact, one made a comment like, stupid idiot or something. And I grabbed him by the scruff of the neck here, and I was going to pop him one, and the guys come over and he said, Rob, what's your problem? I said, I was over in the corner, don't laugh at me. And then the guy came over to me, looked me straight in the eye, and he said, Rob, you was over near the coffee machine speaking to yourself. And we've never traced that man. Never traced him.
Wow.
Yeah. And all this knowledge and all this work and all this passing on, and it's a bit like John said to me, God's chosen you, but you have to tell everyone it's God. Don't be going in no meetings going, okay, I've got a higher power. It's God. G-O-D doesn't stand for a group of drunks. It stands for God. Don't let anybody disrespect that name. You go out and you tell everyone. And that's what I did. And I got slaughtered in the early meetings, John. Here comes Rob. Oh my God, here he is, the big book, oh God, the Bible guy. And I just stayed strong, man. He told me to put this armor on. I didn't understand at the time. I put this breastplate on, put the big belt round, make sure you got your knee pads on and you're ready for battle. And I did battle in them rooms. Wow. But the thing is, that I'd been a professional bodybuilder, semi-professional, and I'd also boxer, martial arts, and I'm a streetwise. I can handle myself. So it got to the point, sometimes I said, well, you better not step outside with that word. And I go, step outside. I ain't got a problem with this. You know, if you want to step, well, you're weak. You want to step outside? I'll show you who's weak.
You're a black belt.
I always knew that God had my back. Yeah. And I always knew that there was a mission to be done. So I came to America and they laughed at me, John, when I came. They laughed at my theories. They laughed at my, description of the alcoholic. They would sneer in meetings. They wouldn't have anything to do with me. But I knew God wanted to keep strong.
They would sneer in meetings. That's typically not an AA meeting. You're usually very welcoming of everybody.
Yeah. Not the meetings I've been to. Around the world, the different ones I've been to. They're on the little cliques, It's come away from what Bill and Bob wanted it to be to now it's some of the old timers, don't have a problem. They're heavy drinkers that are in the moon and they all run the meeting. You can't do this, you can't do that. Someone said to me, listen, you can't chair until you got a year sobriety. You can't sponsor it. God will tell me when I can sponsor. God will tell me when I can chair a meeting, not you. The book specifies no human power can relieve my alcoholism, but God could and he would if he, the capital H, was sought. We have placed ourselves beyond human aid. Don't tell me what I can and can't do in this meeting. There are no bosses in this meeting. And I caused havoc. And then people started to listen.
There's definitely a divine anointing on your life. I mean, I
don't think we can deny that after all.
You tried to kill yourself 5 times, that I think I recall from the book. And, like I was telling you before we started filming, there's nothing funny about suicide. But even the medic on your first attempt was laughing because you popped a bunch of pills and they were laxatives. So not only was your life shit, it really was for at least a few days, right?
I'd stolen them from my mum's medicine cabinet in the bathroom. And I stole a bunch of pills. Let's just take him. I didn't really read what he was. I don't think it actually said laxative on. He had some medical name, but I just popped them all. I wanted to die, but I couldn't keep off the toilet to die. So was pretty good with that one. That was God's sense of humor going, you ain't going anywhere.
And there was another one. You actually found a way to tie yourself to a train track.
That was America's fault. I'd seen Laurel and Hardy or something, or some Western where they tied on and then it would kill him. But let me talk you through it real quick because, again, hilarious. But the mindset was, I'd watch this train every morning, 8 o'clock or something like that. I can't remember the time. Let's say it's 8 o'clock. So what I wanted to do is I didn't want to tie myself too near the station in case somebody saw me. So I actually walked about half a mile, maybe a mile up the track. And I tied myself. And at the time I was there, like I couldn't move. Now, when the train started, I could hear this rumble. It was like somebody had taken all the stress out of my life and just got, it's ready now. You ready? It was so relieving. My heart slowed down and I knew this was it. And it was such an exhilarating feeling that I'm going to be out of pain real soon. Not so, guys, because as the train approached me, because I'd walked further down, I'd not seen the train further down. As it got about 20 yards, it veered off on another track and I was just looking. And I'm just like, I don't believe this. Now I couldn't it wouldn't undo. The knot wouldn't undo. And I was there for about 4 hours. It started to rain. It's like God's going, I'm going to throw everything at you now, just for trying to do this. And then a guy walked past, he's like bottling his ass. Can you let me go? No, you look dangerous. I'm not dangerous. Just let me go. You might beat me up and take I swear to God, I took about a 20-minute talk and he finally undid one of the arms and I got away. But yeah, it looks like I couldn't kill myself.
Oh my gosh, because you wrote about that in the book, about that feeling of calm you had when you knew the train was coming. And soon, you said it was be a minimal amount of pain, but soon it would be over.
Yeah.
That's really deep and depressed. And just at the very end, you're hopeless at that point.
Yeah.
But you bounced back. And I'm glad you did. I'm glad you were unsuccessful in all of those attempts because it wasn't just, there's more in there.
Yes.
And you've had some relapses.
Yes.
What would cause you to relapse?
Coming away from what I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
That was the deal, sort of pretending that I knew better and didn't. And then coming away from God saying, hey, I've got it. Don't worry about it. I've got it from now. This program has to be done 100%. It can't be done 99%. It has to be 100%. So when you read that book, that was God. They talk about psychic change, which is today in the medical fraternity, only 10 years ago, labeled it neuroplasticity. Yes. We can change neural pathways.
Yes, yeah.
These guys knew that back in 1938 when they were writing it. So when I stopped doing what I'm supposed to do, it all goes to hell. On a couple of occasions it went. I wasn't out there a long time, but got back, knew what to do, got back on board. And it was just like, I always say to people now, when they come into me, go, my God, Dr. Robb, I've relapsed. I feel terrible. I go, listen, that's probably the best thing you've ever done. Just for that final, I can't do this anymore.
That makes sense.
You know?
That makes sense. 'Cause, I mean, I know a lot of alcoholics in recovery, and I've had some say that, I'm going to start drinking again, and I can handle it this time. This time will be different. You've heard it before.
Yeah.
And all I would say to them is, look, I hope it works. Hope you're okay. But if it's not, you know what to do.
Exactly.
It's just saying without judgments, I accept you no matter what. And you know what to do, and I hope that you do it. That's up to you. I want to move into what you're doing with the Robb Kelly Recovery Group, but I want to say to you, I wrote this down earlier today. I see your alcoholism actually as a blessing, not for the hell you went through, and not for the hell that you put others through, but because if you hadn't had that, you wouldn't be doing the great work that you're doing right now. You've helped thousands of people obtain sobriety. You've helped thousands of people live again and live fully. And you've had people make amends with others. You help them to do that and restore relationships, right? I mean, I almost call it like the happy ending, because we love happy endings. That's why these Hallmark movies are so popular, because we want that to be our story,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I call your alcoholism, your addiction, a blessing, because it has been to so many. You're creating a legacy, and for that, you have my utmost admiration and respect.
Thank you.
Great work you're doing. I often say this, and I mean it with all my heart. People in recovery are the bravest people I know.
Yeah.
Because alcohol is everywhere.
Yep.
It's legal. Illegal drugs. We're sitting here in 78746 in Austin, Texas. Within 15 minutes, we could be at a high school and score whatever we wanted.
Yes.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So people in recovery are the bravest people I know.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Robb Kelly Recovery Group. If somebody starts to work with you, first of all, how do you know that they're ready?
Well, we have an assessment, and again, it goes back to if you're not ready, we won't take you. So there's a certain question I'll ask. If you're in facing the office, I will play games with you because I really want to know. So most people, when it was in Dallas, Highland Park, the rich parents would bring their sons in or daughters in, and most of them didn't want to, work with us. And I'd find out, let's just me and you go on one last bender, or listen, I've got a couple of pills in the jar. Let's just take it, start tomorrow. The answer is yes, he's out, going to get the parents. We can't work with them. So we just really ask them a couple of questions, like when you take the first drink, can you stop? If the answer is, well, no, I have to drink till I'm blacked out. That's a good indicator. How bad do you want to do it? Why do you want to do it? What's going to be different this time? How committed are you? So if the answer is all yes, then we take them on. And I don't know what it is, but a couple of things I can do. I can play guitar and I get people well. I can spot an alcoholic from across the room, not saying he just sat down with his wife, and I can say to Janet that he's suffering with alcoholism. She goes, there's no way. Or TV. Someone's on TV. He's got an alcohol problem. She's on the internet. Wow, I was taken into rehab last week. It's like there's something there. I don't know what it is that I know you're struggling, but I know you want a way out. So we turn people down, but we take people on who are ready. And if you're ready, here's a couple of things that you'll never hear. You will never hear this. And my wife is going to throw something at me now. First of all, I'll guarantee the parents or the spouse that you can recover. And if you don't, whilst doing our program, I will refund you money. We're the only company in the world that does that. Nobody's putting their money where their mouth is.
You're right.
Well, it's just, he wasn't ready. Why do you take him in your treatment center who wasn't ready? Well, no excuses. Shame on you if you keep doing that. That's how powerful we are. And that's what the program is. It's powerful. It's straight. It's God's work. It's not my work. We have a bunch of guys that work there that do fantastic jobs. But at the end of the day, it's up to him to take you and turn you into this amazing person that's going to shock the world. My guys don't build businesses. They build empires. We're either all in or we're all out. That's the best thing about us, and I just think I'm proud of the work we do. Okay. I'm proud of the work we do. And I know that we can take broken down people, and with the help of God, we can take them to the respected person once again. The great dad, the great husband, the great son. We can do this. With 100%, we can do it. We have a 97% success rate.
Wow.
2%.
97%.
3% in treatment centers. 5% in some places. Sure. 97%. Because we will not let go. We will fight toe-to-toe with your disease. And we know some great tricks. We know some great mind tricks. We can redevelop, remap brains. I can do that in 4 or 5 minutes with somebody. So that on the way from day one, we guarantee that, I tell them and guarantee them that they're not going to drink after today. When we get into, and most, because the alcohol's not the problem. They think it's the problem.
And that gives people hope.
It gives. I mean, it's like
if they're ready, they'll believe it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, let me ask you a question because either on your website or on the in the book, you said that talking about neuroplasticity and neurolinguistic programming, which I'm familiar with. I certainly know neuroplasticity, but that you can create a new neural pathway in 7.3 seconds.
You can stop a self-sabotaging neural pathway in 7.3 seconds and then take the correct pathway.
Explain.
So pathways are always, guys, if you're watching this at home real quick, it's pretty cool this. So this is the self-sabotaging neural pathways. This is for alcoholics we're talking about. So there's billions of neural pathways. So this is the self-sabotaging. This rules my head. This is the main 35 out of Austin. Okay? The main freeway. Take it every time. You're not going to take a side road. You're going to take this all the time. And here's all the good neural pathways that are lost because this is the main way. What we do is we remap so that the good neural pathways, the confident, the success is going to be the main route out. But you see this here? It's always going to be there. So you got to keep doing this and the remapping and the daily stuff. Otherwise, it's going to click back and you're going to relapse. So the idea is to keep them neural pathways solid and strong. It's like the placebo effect. And it's like, if I told you a lie right now, John, you might believe it, you might not. If I told you a lie real often enough, you're going to start to believe it. But if I told you a lie real often enough, I'm going to start to believe it.
Yes, true.
It's like what we put inside. And the reason you talk about the streets before, that was like a semester at Harvard for me. Because when you see someone that's gone through that, when you see the devastation that I caused, and you go, he got out of it. And I go, yeah, I know the way out. It's easy. This is not complicated. It's like being dropped in, I don't know, Spain somewhere. And asking a guy on the road, can you tell me where Smith Street is? Oh, I've never been there, but I read in a book once that it might be down. You're never going to get there.
Yeah.
Go to the next guy. Do you know where Smith Street? Oh, yeah, I've been there. I lived there for a bit, actually. Let me tell you exactly how you're going to get there. You're going to get there, And it's all about believing. When I was a kid, on Sunday nights was Request Show on the radio. And this is how powerful this stuff is, guys. And every night I'd listen to it. I had this little cheap transistor radio and this big battery that my dad stole from work, like taped onto it. And I'd sit there for 2 or 3 hours every Sunday. And one day I got enough confidence to run downstairs to the downstairs phone and call the radio station. And I'm like, hello, Piccadilly 103. Can you play a song for Rob? Yeah, sure, Rob. What song would you want? ABBA? I don't know what it was. Okay, Rob. Is it going to be played? Oh, yes, on the playlist. Yeah, it's definitely going to be played. Just don't know when. Is that okay? Okay. Put the phone down. Ran upstairs. Sat by this transistor radio for what seemed like weeks. It's only a 3-hour show. And about 10 minutes, it's like, this is what my reaction. And this request goes out to John. Oh, this request goes out to Mary. Oh, God. And towards the end, 10 minutes before the end, this request goes out to Rob in Manchester. And he played the song. And I felt like the most important person on that radio station right then. What I found today with the brain, the alcoholism and everything we're going through, it's like that with God. Ask God for stuff and he'll put you on the playlist. It's going to happen because you're on his playlist. We just don't know when. And this is what I try and educate people as everything we ask for, we get. If you're doing the right thing, if you're working with God's kids, if you're being pure, if your experience is your greatest asset and you're helping people, you're doing pro bono, you're giving money back to the community, you can ask for stuff. You can ask for anything you want and he'll put you on that playlist.
Yes.
The timing is not yours, unfortunately. It might be, I don't know. But John, I'm on the playlist. I was always on the playlist. So everything that's happened, I was on the playlist. Get on God's playlist, guys. It's mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing.
And back to the timing, you would hear, this next song goes out to John. It wasn't the timing yet, but you were but you were on the playlist.
I was disappointed. I was like, oh, damn.
That's kind of how life is,
That's what life's like.
Yeah.
I had a girl who was working with us, and she was working at this company and doing part-time work with us about 10, 15 years ago. And she had this job, and 2 of the people out there, the new company opened, and they're both friends went for the interview. And she was working with us, this girl, and she was empowered and she'd recovered and all that stuff. And she didn't get the job. And the other girl did. And it was twice the salary. So she went back and she came to me and she said, I don't believe all this stuff anymore. And I'm like, why? Well, I went for this job and it was the best job for me and my friend got it and she's winning twice so much, bought a brand new car. 3 months, 4 months after she got the job, they filed for bankruptcy. My girl was still in a sound, safe job, which later turned into a 6-figure job. It's like, It's not up to us to decide what's best for us. It's like a car with power steering. If the engine's off and not doing anything, you can't turn the wheel. What I have to do is start the engine, push it a little bit so the brakes come off, and then the steering takes, and God will steer us to whatever you want to do. But I've got to move forward. I can't just sit there expecting one day someone's going to knock on the door and go, Rob, there's $500,000. Go and enjoy it. No one's going to do it. Nobody's coming. Guys, nobody's coming. You have to realize that. Nobody's coming, guys. You know, you've got to start making this life and sharing it with God and have dreams and write checks for next year for $100,000 and you watch them come to fruition because it's all here. Quantum physics tells us. Let's say I'm on a basketball court. Quantum physics tells me that I can be on that court 25 places at the same time. Okay, nothing's really solid. You've got to remember that, guys, okay? 25 places. Where do I want to be? I want to be over near the net so that when I get the ball, I've never played basketball, when I get the ball, I'm going to jump up, I'm going to slam it in the net, I'm going to be the hero of the game. I can visualize that, me doing that. I really can. Well, the question is, how do you get there? And the answer is the same. You walk over and you take it. You don't beg for it. You walk over and you take it. Once you visualize it, God's put that visual in your head. Mm-hmm. It's there for the taking. Walk over and take it. And the only reason why people don't do this is because of trauma. Because of never think. Guys, let me talk to you for a second. If you're sat at home now and thinking you're not good enough, that you're never going to amount to anything, and this is just your lot in life, I want to apologize to you guys. Somebody's put that there. We're born with $1 million minds. Why are you hanging around 10-cent minds? Why? The $1 million mind gets us there. That's what we're born with.
Yes.
Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. If I hang around with 9 depressed people, guess what? I'm going to become the 10th. It's always is here, just like you said before. Even if it's the placebo effect, it doesn't make any difference. We can do amazing things with our mind. The SAS guys do it. The Navy SEALs do it. Mind-blowing stuff the CIA does. Just mind-blowing stuff.
And the mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. So
yes.
You can trick your mind.
Yes.
It's all what you see. It's all what you believe. It's all what you believe. I think it was Henry Ford who said, if you think you can or you think you can't, either way you're right.
Correct.
And what I often say is God did not create us and then forget about us.
No.
He's always on our side. But the world and this other voice in our head wants to tell us that we're not good enough, that we don't amount, and why try? Because we'll fail. Filter that voice out. You're never going to get rid of it. But listen to the other voice, which comes from God, and that is, do it. I encourage you. Push it. Take a leap of faith. I'll be there with you.
And that's a gut feeling we get as well.
Yes.
Janet always says the first answer is right. What is it? God's put in. First answer is always right. Always right the first time. But we want to, come back and we want to, don't think we're good enough and we can't do that. And with kids, when we were kids at home, we'd play in the street so my mum could see me. We'd play soccer and we're kicking the ball around. And we'd shout, John, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm a professional footballer. What about you, Jimmy? Astronaut. What about you, Ben? Pilot. What happened to them dreams? Yeah. I'll tell you, they got kicked out of us by our family and our society. You can't do that. Don't be stupid, John. You're not good enough to do that. I was told all the time I wasn't doing it. You can't do this. You can't do that. You're not clever enough to do this. And it ruined my life for a long time. The fact of the matter is stop saying I'm impossible. Put an apostrophe there and say I'm possible. Everything's possible. Quantum physics tells us, neuroscience tells us, the whole being, the aura, everything tells us we can do it. You go. I'm telling you, Henry Ford was so right. If you're going to do it, you're going to succeed. If you don't want to do it, you're going to succeed. Either way, we're right.
It's funny because I've written about this and spoken to groups about exactly what you're talking about, and that is what happened to the dreams of your childhood.
Yes.
You're going to set the world on fire. Nobody and nothing was going to stop you. You couldn't wait till you could get out and make your mark on the world. Then life stopped you. You listened to the wrong voices. I gave a talk to a college a few years ago, college kids, and I said, the title of the talk was "Live Your Purpose. Don't trade your potential for the purpose of a paycheck." And it was about go do what it calls you in here to do. That's your higher calling. That's your higher purpose. Your true reason for being here. The traditional route of getting a job, buying a house, getting a wife, getting kids, and everything else. You wake up in your mid-40s and go, "Is this all there is?"
Yes.
Because those dreams are still here.
Yeah. And it's people that we hang with, When I was in Dallas, before I met Janet, and the great guys I hang with now, I said to my guys in Dallas, I said, I'm thinking of writing a book. One said, don't be so stupid. That's just a ridiculous idea. You've got to be an author, first of all. You're not an author, Rob, so that's just a waste of time. The other guy said, it's going to take years. I wouldn't do that. I never wrote a book. Come to San Antonio, mix with these guys at GOD comes first, man. They're powerful guys, recovered alcoholics. I said to them one day, I'm thinking of writing a book. Rob, I thought you already had a few books out there. The other one said, oh my God, I will definitely read that. And Janet's like, oh, we've got to write this book. I'm going to write it. You just tell me things. So I wrote a book. You know, it's like the people around you will push you on. When I get something happen yesterday, negative person comes in, says something, try to destroy me. Tittle tattle, one person out of millions that I've touched tries to destroy me. I take a hit with that. It's like, oh, because I'm concentrating on the black spot, not the white piece of paper. Takes me a bit. But if you're doing the right thing, God knows you're the right thing, there's no way that he's going to fail every single time. And what happens when somebody does that, it's like, I get that insult. Oh yeah, he's not as good as that. You know, he's not really a doctor. He's not really from England. He doesn't really, all this stuff that we get for jealousy. So when that happens, God can feel me go, oh, I take it really, it hurts, man. I mean, and I said to this guy, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sick of this stuff. And do you know what God does every single time? 3 patients come on over the last 2 days. 3 new patients come on. And I know what he's saying. This is how good you are, Rob. This is what I've made you. Yeah. Take no notice of what people are trying to destroy you. You know, if they can't attack you and take you down, they'll attack your personality, they'll attack your reputation. They ain't big enough to take you down, Rob. You know, I might be 60 years old, but I can still fight like a crazy man. So no one's going to come with a fist up towards me. So they try and, you know, disrespect me, attack my company or me. And then God goes, that's what we think of you. Yeah. And it's asked Janet, it's happened every single time someone's done that.
That is awesome. Yeah. That is awesome. Anything else we need to know about Dr. Robb Kelly and the Robb Kelly Recovery Group?
Well, 2 things. First of all, it's a 90-day program, 1 hour a day. We're mainly telehealth these days. We've got some great people working for us. We'll guarantee you can recover. And if you want information, parents, if your parents at home, by the way, guys, or spouses, you can call her. You'll go straight through her mouth, Janet. She'll talk to you for hours. And you can call 50 times in the next 1 month. Never going to cost you anything. We look after families because we know what you're going through. And secondly, the book that I've got there, which is on Amazon, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking, and Walmart. The only reason I mention that is all of them $9. And I don't mean after profits. I mean, you know, no one's taking a dime out of that $9. It goes straight out into the communities in England and in the US of A. I'm a US citizen now. So everything goes back. So buy the book on Amazon. Go buy it. It's not going to mean anything to me. I don't see anything from that. But if you don't like it, text me. I'll send you $9. Just pass it on to somebody else you think you like it. Okay? That's all that I ask you to do. Jump on. And then come find us. Come and talk to us, you know. We have some great events at the house sometimes. Sober Sunday is June the 12th. Well, we got a bunch of alcoholics around, and we get the musical instruments out. They're getting a pool, the barbecues on. It's just fun for the family.
Nice. Very nice. Robb Kelly, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming up. I really appreciate it. It's been a great interview.
Thanks,
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the work you're doing, because it's awesome.
Thank you, man.
That is our show for today. Get the book, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. If you know somebody that is struggling, please, or if you're struggling, please get in touch with Dr. Robb Kelly. It's complimentary to talk to them. Like you said, you can call them 50 times, and they won't charge you. They only want to work with people who are ready. If you are ready, please, you can have your life back. You can put your life back together. You can have your family again. There is a future for you. And if you're not ready, I will practice what the song says. I will say a prayer for the desperate hearts tonight, because that's you. Don't give up hope. Thank you for being here. We do this for you, and I ask you to please, again, share this with your friends. Share it with your family. If you think this is something that somebody will benefit from, that's why we do it. We do it to help you. I will be back tomorrow on the audio podcast, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get it, with another 1-minute inspirational thought to begin your day with. Until then, everyone, be well.